Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Rebound, brought to you here live on Google Hangouts, available to you guys on YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, wherever you guys may be getting it. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Greg Horn. Greg, how are you doing today, my man?
And I'm doing good. I'm, look, a lot of Legacy League playoff action. The Nets are playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know. In the words of Lil Uzi Vert, I'm just doing me. And, let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. I love it. So what a great open. On today's pod, we have a great episode for you guys. Where Greg and I are going to be breaking down all the action from this first week of the playoffs. It was a great quarterfinals. And we're going to be revealing some of our surprise on the rises. We're going to be doing our surprise on the rise all-star team assembled by Greg and I. We'll get into that. And lastly, stay tuned because the best part, you guys definitely want to hear about those games and you want to hear about Greg and I's predictions, championship predictions, playoff predictions for the upcoming semifinals. So definitely got a lot in store for you guys. The best is yet to come. So let's get right into it, Greg. And let's start off with our surprise on the rise, like I was already alluding to. And it's a pretty cool surprise on the rise this week. So what you guys want to do right now is want to check out those standings on the page, on the Legacy League standings page. And Greg is going to be choosing two players from teams ranked in the odd numbers. And I'm going to be choosing two players from teams that are ranked in the even numbers. So we're going to basically pick two guys from squads that are ranked within, those regions. And then I'm going to basically pick two guys from two teams that are more of like surprise on the rise caliber players who really caught me and Greg, by surprise this year and basically caught the league by surprise and had a great season. I'm going to let Greg lead off with his two guys and I'll follow up with my two guys. And with that, you'll have four players to assemble our surprise on the rise all-star team. So with the all-star right around the corner, it's a good little theme to keep the surprise on the rise lit for one more week. So Greg, why don't you lead off with the guys that you chose from your half of teams?
All right. So I'll start off with the Team Moose at 7 and Will Ingersoll. And we talked about him a lot in the podcast. He really came on in the season late. He didn't really show up to the first few games. And, when he came, we were like, who's this guy wearing number 69? Is he just is he just Frenching around? I know we got some older listeners. Shout out them. He might just be fudging around, and I didn't know what really to expect of him. He has a different game than most of the Team Moose players. He shoots a three. He could really do everything out there. He's really a versatile player, and he really showed it this season. He really did his thing. I mean, he averages over 6 rebounds and 12 points a game, and to do that in this league consistently as not your team's number 1 and number 2 guy is very impressive. And he can guard anyone. He doesn't take plays off. He's the epitome of Team Moose basketball. Plus, he's versatile enough to play with other players, whereas some Moose players fit in that system and really only that system.
Mm-hmm.
Will Ingersoll could play on a lot of other teams in this league and do his damage, and I think that's why Will Ingersoll, I chose him. I think he was very surprising just to see, this Team Moose team had their full team this year. They would have made noise because they brought in people like Will. And then my second guy is someone who I think doesn't get enough credit. He's actually someone who this week went off, and I was literally saying to Meyer during the game about Chris Leak. Like, they need to get Chris Leak. I mean, Connor, you even came over to us halfway through the game and you were like, what are they doing? They need to play Chris Leak. I mean, Chris Leak was 8 of 13 with 17 points and 5 rebounds in their playoff game. We'll get to that later. I won't spoil who won or lost. But, I mean, he's incredibly efficient, and he does it with such ease. He can shoot the ball. He can rebound. He's a good defender. Sometimes he's a little lazy with the handling, but that's just coming to getting accustomed with the league. And it's probably hard for him to get accustomed when he's on the bench and he's not getting those minutes maybe sometimes because he's doing his thing and he's balling out. And we saw when the Rim Breakers were down 17 points and they had Chris Leak in there with Rich Bronson and Pooch. That was a beautiful sight. They came back from down 16. They were hitting threes. They were playing team basketball, and Chris Leak brings them something that they lost with no Kayvon there and no McLeese. And Chris Leak this season, whether McLeese was there, whether Brunson was there, whether Pooch was there, whether Carl was banging, Chris Leak consistently did his thing every game. And, I just can't say enough about how underrated of a player he is. If you're ever watching the Rim Breakers play, watch Chris Leak because he is really a joy to watch. So I got Will Ingersoll and Chris Leak.
Yeah, before I give, my guys, I want to give some thoughts on your guys. I really love the Will Ingersoll pick. You obviously know I've been on him all season. I love his size, what he brings to the table, and just like you said, he's another team loose player that really just fits anywhere you put him in the league, any position you want to throw him on. I really like that pick. And Chris Leak, dude, yes, you hit it right on the head. He doesn't really see the floor enough for how good of a player he actually is. He really isn't a player that should be relegated to the bench to start the game. I'll tell you what, I was over there right next to that bench recording HD clips at the start of the game, and I'm looking at the score as it starts to balloon a little bit, not in favor of the rim breakers, right? And I'm starting to get uncomfortably sick to my stomach, feeling for Chris Leak. Like, why isn't Chris Leak in this basketball game right now? Like, with all due respect to Ernest Henry and Zeke Howard, you only need one of those two guys on the court at the same time. They both play the same, primary position, which is rim protecting, rebounds, defense down low, right? That's what both guys bring to the table. Why isn't Chris Leak in for one of those guys and just have the other one out there? I just don't know why they came out with that strategy. I understand maybe they were thinking Sportsbook's, one of the more beefier, stockier teams in the league. We got to have our big boys out there too. Chris Leak's a big boy, Greg. Chris Leak's a big kid. He probably has the best vertical on the team. So he could go up there and block shots too. So I don't know what the strategy was. Thankfully, Chris Leak did come into that game with only 7.5 minutes, left in the first. So he got in there pretty quick. But at the end of the day, he should have been out there starting. It might have been able to be a little spark plug and trigger that team off. But we'll get into that when we get into the game. But Chris Leak's a stud. I love Chris Leak. I think he deserves more. I think he deserves more minutes. Hopefully that him and the rim breakers come back for another season in the summer and we see him again, because I think he has a lot in store that we haven't seen yet from Chris Leak. So I like the surprise on the rise. For my two guys, Greg, I'm picking number eight ranked team, Nick Strong, Nick Durso. I really like this kid's game. I heard this kid can dunk on 10. He has absolute bunnies. This kid can jump out of the gym. And we saw a lot of it yesterday too. Even Nick Strong had a doubleheader. I think they had back-to-back weeks with doubleheaders, if I'm not mistaken. So we've seen a lot of Nick Durso, and I really like this kid's game. He, in the past couple of weeks, he's definitely jumped onto the list of dudes that I truly enjoy watching, alongside guys like Ryan Florentine on that Nick Strong and Vesicchio. They're just an enjoying team to watch, and Durso's a big part of that. And my other team was the number 2 ranked team, Shocker City, and I grabbed Danny Lopez from them. He was the first surprise on the rise I did all season, and he really just shined all year. He didn't put up those giant flashy numbers that Devon Pratt was putting up alongside him, but he was really a consistent part of that defensive scheme. He runs the floor. He never stops, always hustles. He's always yapping, so you always know that he's engaged. He's 100% serious about his business, and he takes care of it on a consistent basis. That's why this team has such a good year. That's why they're the number 2 ranked team, ready to make a finals push here against the Flint Tropics. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait. We'll see what that gets into. We still got to get through quarters. Got to get through semis. They already got through quarters. So one more round, we'll see if Shocker City can pull out. But I think Danny Lopez is a key to their success, Greg. So those are my 2 guys. Before we get into the recap, I want to hear your thoughts on Nick Durso and Danny Lopez, and rounding out this squad with Chris Leak and Will.
No, I mean, first of all, that's a nice 4 there. Ingersoll, Leak, Lopez, and Durso, man. That's a good team.
A lot of dunkers.
Yeah, I mean, I love your pick. I think that Danny Lopez is a spark plug for the Shocker City team. That is, speaking of Shocker City, you got Chris Rosinski texting me live. Mm-hmm. Let's see what the Shocker City GM.
You gotta love it live.
I'll do the podcast this week or next week. Breaking news: Chris Rosinski's coming on the podcast. Stay tuned. But speaking of Rosinski, perfect segue into his teammate Danny Lopez. As I was saying, he's a spark plug, man. What he does off the bench for this team is just impressive. He can hit threes at a really high rate, which I did not know. He's a good shooter. And then Nick Durso is a high flyer. He's one of the better dunkers in this league. I hope he's in the dunk contest. I believe he is. And I love your list. I love my list. I think they would make a great team, and they would be a problem for a lot of teams in this league.
And speaking of Nick Durso, Greg, it's a perfect segue into our first game of the week when Nick Strong was taking on the Young Kings. Nick Durso was featured heavy in this game alongside his guys, but Nick Strong, man, they came out after a football game and, delivered a very authoritative win over the Young Kings, ending their season. This was the play-in game for the remainder of the playoffs. And Eddie Whitman, our guy, man, Eddie went off. Eddie had 22 points on 6 of 12 shooting from beyond the arc, and that's what he does best. He's a sniper from three-point range, and whenever he's hot, your team has a chance. I saw him hit the first 6 points, back-to-back threes to start the game, and I knew it was going to be a good one for him. Sure enough, just wasn't enough to get over that hump. Destin Simmons also had a good game for Young Kings, as you always expect, but only 18 points from Destin's kind of a little bit lackluster. I mean, it'd be one of my best games ever in my life, but for Destin Simmons, that's just that's just another day at the office for him. But yeah, the star of the show here, can't overlook it, was Ryan Florentine. He was the catalyst for Nick Strong, Greg. 30 points on 11 of 18 shooting, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals, just showing why he was on my all defensive team. With those defensive numbers on top of the scoring. So, Greg, why don't you, talk a little bit about this game, what you saw, and who made the difference in this Nick Strong versus Young Kings game?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Florentine made the difference. He's played his best game of the year. He played one of the more complete games I've seen anyone play. He did it on all phases. He was hitting threes. He was posterizing people, putback dunks, steals, blocks, offensive, defensive rebounds, mid-range Jays. This man was damn near cooking pasta at half court, draining a three, handing it to his mom, then dunking over someone. Nick Durso came in. Taviar Pierce came in. I mean, this Nick Strong team had their best showing, and I can't give them enough credit for how well they played. They played phenomenal, and I'm so proud of Nick Strong for pulling out such a big dub.
Yeah, I'm all on the Nick Strong bandwagon for next season. I heard that they're trying to make some off-season moves, get some new players, and
like that.
I love it, dude. These guys are so fun to watch. They were really hurt in not having Mike Vesicchio at this game. He was one of their main guys that would show up consistently and deliver 20-plus points. Maybe not at the most efficient basis, but he chunked up a lot of minutes, and he was an all-star in the seasons past. So definitely a high quality player that they need, especially in games where they only had 5 guys. You need Mike there helping out, because that was a key loss. But at the end of the day, they had enough guys to get through this one, Greg. But the story was, would they have enough to get through their next one, which we'll be recapping later in the show. The next one, though, Greg, we were talking about our guy Danny Lopez and Will Ingersoll, and they faced off in this matchup, Shocker City versus Team Moose. But Shocker City, man, this was going to be no upset alert. This was a big win. They put their foot down on Team Moose early and often. Kevin Blake went off for Team Moose, finally back from injury, looking like his normal self, 27 points on 12 of 20 shooting. But Danny Lopez and Jason Hernandez, Greg, both respectively chipping in with very efficient games, scoring 20-plus points on less than 13 shot attempts apiece. But Devon Pratt was the stud in this one.
No, yeah, I mean, MV Pratt, baby. He's balling out. He's doing his thing. Devon Pratt really is just setting the tone for Shocker City. He is doing everything for them mentally, physically, and literally carrying the load. He's balling out. He's playing the best he's ever played. His efficiency from three, the way you don't know how to guard him because he can hit a three from wherever, but he can also drive by you. He's one of the better offensive rebounders in the league. He can put back slam at a very efficient rate. He's very good at boxing out. Devon Pratt is really showing you why he's an extremely talented player and arguably one of the best in this league. And then you just got the other players from Shocker City. I mean, they led the league in points by over 101. They had 37 more field goals made than anyone. I mean, Shocker City can dominate you at any point, and they just flex their muscle against a Team Moose team that was beaten down. And from Greg Daniels, the pastor, to Mike Davis, to Chris Rosinski, to Danny Lopez, this Shocker City team, Deontay Washington showed up at halftime, didn't even play. He just said, you know what, we're up 30. I'm going to chill out. That's the Shocker City team. They are ready, and they're coming, and they are motivated.
Yeah, I've said it once, and I'll say it again. They're the most talented team in this league. I don't really feel like that's a criminal statement. I don't think that's really something so derogatory in terms of basketball terminology. Yeah, man, I really think that they're the most talented team. I think that we'll talk about this when we're doing our our playoffs a little bit more. But when it comes down to Flint, I think they're the best basketball team in the way that they play, and I think that Shocker is the most talented team. So we'll see what works more when or if they match up again. But that's definitely something to look forward to. So Greg, the next game, one team that's probably like, whoa, slow your horses down. We have a final say, and that's Run TMC. They took on the Chasers, and they got away with a win, man. Whew, they squeaked this one out, 84-82. Greg, this was a crazy game. I think you have the clip here that you might be showing us in a second, but this game came down to the final shot, and it's just crazy how it went down. Before Greg shows you officially what happened, just some numbers around the game. Reggie went off, as he always does, for a triple-double, 29 points, 10 and 10. Eric Singleton had a great game. He has 20 points on only 10 shot attempts, so very efficient night from Eric. But Dom Langston and David Armstrong were carrying the load for the Chasers all night long. Greg, you're about to see two of these guys involved in this final play between Dom and Dave. Dom had 30 and 11, and Dave had 22 and 10. But would they be able to put it together for the final play to tie up this game, Greg, down 2 after a missed free throw?
I mean, yeah. Honestly, I think we should maybe go through this together. I mean, look, I mean, there's a lot to break down in this clip. I mean, we can see, to give a little context, Eric Singleton here missed his first free throw. This was the second one. And if he hits this, obviously, the 3-point game. Yep. But as you can obviously tell, we'll just go like frame by frame here. Obviously, all right, Eric Singleton misses.
Misses the free throw, yep.
Yeah. So now this is huge, too, because, I mean, if you look at it, Run TMC has 3 players essentially right in front of Dom Langston. If he passes that ball to Jones, baby, they essentially have a 2-on-1 going down the court.
Oh, for sure. That's a very good point.
So that's one thing I noticed, but, all right, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Jones is ahead of 3 players right now, and I don't see Seabrook. So
Seabrook's there too.
Right. So keep it rolling.
But
so Dom's going to take the ball by himself up the court like the point guard. And Dom's on fire. To give you some context, Dom had just hit 2 multiple 3-point shots in a row, just banging them from deep range and bringing his team within scoring distance, and then missed free throws from Reggie Stewart and Eric Singleton and Eric Langston. All of them missed free throws at the end of the game to seal it. And now here we are, down 2. Dom Langston's got the ball in his hands. Probably only 3 seconds left in the game at this point.
Yep. And as you can see, all right, now it might be blurry on your screen, but right here, you can see my mouse. You see this right here?
I see it. There's someone in the corner there. It looks like Brandon Seabrook posted up in the corner with no one even guarding him.
Eric Langston, all the way over here.
Eric Langston guarding the paint.
Oh.
And, and we're back on Greg.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second.
Technical difficulties as Greg gets it back up. I think he's got it.
And we are back.
What he's got here, Greg. What are we looking at now? So we got Seabrook.
So it's the same thing.
So we're back at the spot.
Yep.
Dom is at the ball. Probably 2 seconds and change left on the clock.
I say 2-8. Yeah.
8. So
let's just run it. I mean,
let's run it for a second,
and then we'll go frame by frame.
So
the best reaction is me right here.
Yeah, Greg over there on the side.
And Jamal right here.
It's a very confused look on his face, because at the end of the day, what happened was they kicked out to a 3-point shot with basically no time to get the 3-point shot off. So Dom Langston driving to the bucket, and David Armstrong got the pass from Dom. Now maybe the questionable pass was Dom passing to Dave. We'll go back to Greg and show here. Dave gets the ball in a tricky spot because Dave is obviously an interior scorer. Dom passed him for maybe an open mid-range that Dave could have shot, but Dave, probably knowing his strengths, said, "I'm not going to take that mid-range shot." He's looking for a shot at the basket, and Dom maybe should have went to the basket himself. But at the end of the day, TMC was playing the paint, and they gave the Chasers the 3-point shot. But at the end of the day, the Chasers took too long to take the 3-point shot. So they didn't make up their mind. They hesitated, and I think that's what costed them out. Greg.
What do you think about it looks like to me, is Eric Langston going out? I was going to say, if Eric Langston going out, you got to throw an oop there. But I think me and you agree, behind is the pass. There is look, I'll live or die with that Seabrook 3 right there. He's wide open. No way Langston's recovering. And honestly, too, look, David Armstrong, you're your team's second best player. You're a star in this league. If you want, take that. There's a reason Dom Langston passed to David Armstrong.
He did, because Dave was the only guy besides Dom that game who had been consistently producing points. So
yep. And if you look at this, I believe after he misses, look, Dom Langston says immediately, I think, to David Armstrong right there. I think he said, "Why didn't you shoot that?" I think that's what he said.
Right.
Maybe he said, "Why didn't you pass?" But I mean,
And look at Captain America, Greg, getting out to the three-point shot to block that. I don't even think it would have counted, but it just goes to show that Cody was literally all over it. The closeout defense is unbelievable.
Cody DiLeonardo, man, doesn't give up on a play. Reggie Stewart's ecstatic. Eric Langston, dude, the best thing is right here. I would love to see what happened, what he said. I don't know if he said you should have gone to Seabrook with the ball. I don't know what he said there. I'm assuming, knowing Dom Langston, he probably said, dude, I trust you. Take that shot. But we're never going to know. And it just goes to show in legacy leagues that it really comes down to, that one of the reasons I trust Mike Davis and Reggie Stewart so much is because I know that in the final moments, maybe they'll miss, but they'll make the right play. And that is, you got to make the right play there. J.R. Smith, you can't do it. You gotta, no matter what happens, I'll live with the miss, but you can't mess it up that badly.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as J.R. Smith, but it was like up there in terms of just like game mismanagement with the clock in the final seconds. You didn't have enough time to make that pass, but at the same time, Dave maybe wasn't expecting Dom. He was probably just expecting Dom to take that all the way to the hole, right?
I think they were triple. I think TMC was should have had,
Yeah, I think Dave panicked almost, like not expecting to be put in that situation. Yeah, it's just tough because maybe if Dom just passed to Seabrook without going to Dave, because Dom was realistically the only one that would have been able to see Seabrook. Because when Dave got the ball, he had his back towards Seabrook, and that's why he passed it to Jamal, because Jamal was the only one that was in his line of sight. So, at the end of the day, it's tough, dude. And you're not going to blame this game on Dom Langston in any way, shape, or form, because this game wouldn't be a game to win in the final seconds if it wasn't for Dom Langston, who was an absolute monster. But they just came up short, man. This was an unbelievable game, an unbelievable playoff game. It was pretty cool. He broke it all down, Greg. That was definitely a fighter. TMC, they advanced, baby. That's all they wanted to do was just get out of this game and advance, and that's what they did. So we'll see what happens next week. But we had another good game, Greg. Sportslook taking on the Rim Breakers. And this game got chippy. This game was feisty. This game got intense. Both teams wanted to win this game. Sportslook won this game 80-67 over the Rim Breakers, and it might look like a big win, like they blew them out double digits, but this game got really, really close at points in the third quarter. It was close as a 6-point game, and there was a lot of trash talking, so that both teams were really going at each other's throats to get this W. And Sportslook grinded it out. They got hot in the fourth, and they were able to go on a run to kind of seal this game. But Dan Kokoros, 20 points on only 7 shots. Jeff Norco, 16-8, 4 and 4 steals. Just a really well-rounded, productive game from him. But the real star of this game, Greg, was Brian Acevedo, who 28 points, led all scorers, even led Rich Bronson, who chipped in 26 for the Rim Breakers, but just wasn't enough as they fell, obviously, to Sportslook, like we mentioned.
Yeah, I want to shout out the Rim Breakers. I think their big three had their best game of the year, without a doubt. I just think there was too much focus on the beef and the chippiness, and I love the Rim Breakers. I can't wait to see those guys back, whatever team they're on. And they're a talented team, and they showed that there were times in this game that they really could have made a run. They were down 17 at one point, and then they made a comeback. So that's hard. That takes heart. That takes grit. If you look right here, Brian Acevedo isn't bad, man. He needs to get that 3-point percentage up, but I think that's a little rust. But Brian Acevedo is just phenomenal. The way he can manipulate his layup dunk package, watch him play. He's such a finesse player under the rim, but he has a good shot. He is so much fun to watch. And then you got Dan Corcoros, Jeff Norco, Tyrell Holmes, who's one of the best trash talkers in the league. Tyrell Holmes is. Remember that. Nick Baccarella held his own and did his thing, and Scott Christie and Charlie Williams are so underrated for the fact that they go out there, they box out, they rebound, they do their thing, and they don't complain. They don't get texts. They don't do stupid things. They don't. Other players on other teams lose games for their team just for no reason. If you're a star and you get a tech, all right, it happens. Maybe you dropped 29-8. It wasn't the reason. The tech was not the reason you lost because you dropped 29-8. But if you're averaging 2 points a game, you can't be going out there costing your team more than you actually give them. So that's what Sportslook, they're a team. They are a fundamentally sound team who is supremely talented. And Sportslook just was too much for the Rim Breakers.
And I loved watching these two teams go at it because Pooch, to me, I love Pooch, dude. He's like Lance Stevenson or Draymond. He tries to get under your skin so bad, and normally it's extremely successful. He'll get people frustrated and then flustered, and then they'll let it technical, and Pooch is laughing. Pooch loves it. But dude, he and Terrell Holmes were going at it head to head this whole game, and I can tell Pooch was trying to get Terrell to get teched up, but Terrell was keeping his calm for the most part. Like there was they were setting screens on each other and then getting yelled at by the refs, telling each other to calm down. Like I really thought that these dudes were gonna have multiple techs all game, but for the most part, it was just like just chippy head-to-head basketball, playoff basketball, two teams fighting for their lives and doing whatever it takes to give their team an advantage, mentally, physically, whatever it may be. But yeah, I just love watching Pooch just go at people because it always makes me think like I'm glad I'm not that person, and then it just provides for great entertainment. But this game did get feisty, had multiple stoppages, to separate guys. That's playoff basketball, baby. That's really what it is. That's like that 1990s, early 2000s, that gritty era where guys are getting thrown to the floor on screens.
That's that summer 17 or inter-year intensity. Remember that playoff? STG gave the Monstars a run. You telling me any of the teams in this league that aren't top teams are going to give Greg Langston a run? Fuck out of here. Greg Langston got 50 on your ass.
Oh man, but yeah, that was just a classic battle between two teams that I think there was a little rivalry brewing while that game was going, between guys. But then after the game, Pooch and Terrell dapping up. Yeah. Everybody was dapping up at the end, and it was all good spirits. It was all positivity. The only people that weren't getting any positivity at the end of that game were the referees. They were the ones that they were getting chirped till they left. So,
Carl Fairfax leaves no prisoners.
Zero prisoners with Fairfax and Pooch and those boys. Those guys are absolute savages.
He will absolutely take you out. He does not play.
I absolutely love it. One of the most entertaining teams is why I love those guys.
Yep.
Rich Bronson scrapping, throwing. I just love those dudes.
We love you, Rib Breakers. You make this obviously we love doing this, but you guys make it so much better just by the way you give us entertainment and just you guys are good at basketball. You're fun to watch.
100%.
You all BS. We love you guys.
Yeah, and we want those guys to come back another season.
Regardless
season,
of what team you are.
I don't care who they bring back. Just I want the Rim Breakers red and black jerseys in the league at all times, man. Those guys are great. The last one, Greg, the last game of the night, man. This was a game that we kind of expected to go one way, and it did go that way. But I will say this in this Flint Tropics versus Nick Strong game that the Flint Tropics won 91-59. Nick Strong competed in this first quarter and was shooting I was literally sitting right next to the Flint Tropics as they were, guys are checking in, they're watching the game right next to me, and they're like, dude, Nick Strong is shooting 90% from the field right now, and we're still winning. So, we're in good hands. And that's basically what the case was. It was basically a 2 or 3 point game, but Nick Strong could not miss. Ant Vasicchio was on fire. Florentine hit some, all of Florentine's points, I think, in this game. Most of them came right there in the first quarter because I know that he was hot. Vasicchio was hot. Frank Morale was getting some interior looks, and this team was rolling. But they were they weren't ahead, and you knew that even though that they were rolling, it wasn't going to be sustainable, and it wasn't against this Flint Tropics team because that's what they do best is play defense, and their offense was cooking. Their offense was on fire. TJ, dude, this kid just can't miss threes. He can't miss threes. I don't know what it is. Every game he rolls out there just hitting 4 or 5 threes on extremely efficient shooting. It's the reason why I had him on my all-second team. But this Flint Tropics team, your boys, I'm gonna let you do all the analyzing from here, dude. Just an absolute show out from them.
Yeah, they showed out. They showed in. I mean, TJ Gianni's second in the league in three-point percentage. He's the most efficient shooter from three in this league. And
who's first?
Just Jason Hernandez. Excuse me.
Jason Hernandez. Wow, what a season from him.
Great season for Jason, absolutely. And TJ Gianni, Mike Druon, Matt Sear, all these Nick Japs, Tyler Japs, everyone's playing well for Flint. They're hitting the right gears at the right time. All the cylinders are moving, and they are playing such great basketball. They're ready for anything. Bizzuto's playing well. He's motivated. Dom Migliaro's motivated. He's ready. They've activated the playoff switch. Flint is coming. Beware.
I love it. I definitely agree. These guys look like they're coming for that title. They want it. They really, truly want it. They're not just playing to have fun. They're playing to win. That's what I see with this Flint Tropics team. Every time these guys are trying to cover spreads. They're trying to win by so much. They're not just out there to win. Yep. They're out there to kill whoever's in front of them. And I think that's what gets some teams frustrated, because they take no prisoners, like you said about, these other teams in the past. They truly don't take any prisoners at all. And I think that's what makes the Flint Tropics, such a dynamic team, is that they are so resilient, and that they will, even when a team is competing with them, they're still going to, put their heads down and continue to trudge forward until they, get that lead to double digits plus. They're never happy, I can tell, when games are close. They're always getting nervous when games are close. So I know that the Flint Tropics love to just get out on teams, get out quick, stay ahead. When things get close and gritty, they're just going to trust their talented players to get them the wins. But yep. I can tell that, they're a team that thrives on just going on runs and having that bench just go crazy and fuel them. That's what they are. That's what they do. Greg, so we're down to 4 teams, my man. We're down to the final 4 of Legacy Leagues. All right, we got Shocker City and Sportslook, Flint Tropics, TMC. 2 great games to preview, buddy. What do you see in this Shocker City versus Sportslook game? Who are you going with? What do you think is going to be the key to this game? I want to hear some analysis in the way it's going to go. We put the spread at Shocker City giving 6.5 to Sportslook. This is going to be a great game. I think Sportslook, obviously the underdogs in this one, has a very realistic chance. It's only 6.5. It's not a lot of points, and they could easily cover just because they keep things close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the wild card for this game is Tyrell Holmes. He needs to people need to start guarding Devon Pratt like Steph Curry, and I know that's an extremely absurd thing to say. He's not Steph Curry, I know. But if he's going to be hitting threes from that deep out, you as Sportslook, you guys aren't a – you have – all right, Acevedo is a good 3 shooter, and so is Dan. Besides that, y'all aren't a shooting team. You guys don't shoot threes. That's not your game. You guys take smart shots, get to work the ball into Tyrell and Norco, and even Christie bang. Maybe Nick Baccarella hits a few mid-rangers. Then Acevedo hits maybe like 4 threes. Maybe Corcoros hits 2, and you have 6 or 7 or 9 on the day. Maybe Tyrell gets hot, hits a few. Shocker City is going to, if they're hot, they're going to hit 19 threes or 17 threes around there. Right. Minimum 15. They got guys like Jason Hernandez, Mike Davis, Devon Pratt, Greg Daniels is even hitting. Danny Lopez is even starting to hit threes. Jerry Washington comes back. If Deontay Washington is there too, they'll be hitting threes. So the key to the game is Tyrell Holmes has got to guard whoever the best 3-point shooter is on the court at all times, which is probably going to be Devon Pratt or Mike Davis. And he's going to have to do a good job on them because I know Norco will body down low. But again, Acevedo, he's got to take smart shots and handle the ball smartly. You can't give Shockers the only reason Shockers lost in these past 2 seasons where they're like 28-3. The only times they've lost is when teams don't make dumb mistakes versus them, and they still barely lost those games. But that's how good they are. You can't beat yourself for Shocker City, or you will be in for a long night.
100%. And I like how you brought up the fact that this team is just such a dynamic team when Devon Pratt is going at his best. This team, when Devon gets going, it turns into a totally different team because he is so loud. Like Terrell, we were just talking about with Pooch. He's going to have Pooch turned up to another level when he takes on Pratt. So he's really going through the ringer here in terms of, guys that are going to be barking and chirping and really going at him. So Tyrell Holmes is definitely going to have to keep that poised, demeanor that he had in this past game, because that was definitely pretty impressive how he was able to keep his cool, just let Pooch do his thing. He didn't really engage in any negative ways with Pooch. He kind of just put up a wall. And then at the end of the game, they were all friends. And I think that you might see that similar relationship brought out with Terrell and Devon in this game, because it's going to be head-to-head, mano a mano, 2 alpha dogs going at it. So we'll see what happens when those guys take the court. For me, Greg, in that game, I'm going Shocker City. It's going to be a very narrow game. I don't think that Shocker's going to cover it, believe it or not. I think this game's going to be very, very close. But I'm going to pick Shocker to win, but I would pick Sportslook to cover the 6.5 spread. So that's my official selection for that game, Greg. Did you make your official pick in terms of the spread?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Shocker. I think they have too much. I think that they just have too much 3-point shooting. I mean, if they're off, it's going to be a good game. And if Sportslook can find a way to stop Shocker City's versatile offense, then I think it can be a very good game. They should probably take a page out of Flint's notebook and realize what helped. What did Flint do best against Shocker, and what can we take from that? Because Flint and them are very similar teams. So, but again, with that being said, Flint is such a better 3-point shooting team, and that's where I'm concerned. That's why I got to go Shocker in this one. I just don't know if Sportsbook can keep up with the 3-point shooting of Shocker City.
I like it. I like it. So, speaking of Flint, baby, Flint Tropics, TMC, the next game here in the quarters. Flint giving 7.5 points as the favorites in this one. That's going to be another game where, the spread might actually affect it. But the way that Flint Tropics have been playing, I think that they will actually cover and still win this game by, I say plus 10. I say they win by over 10. I think that this game is not going to be as close as we want it to be. But yeah, I think this game is going to be the Flint Tropics walking away just like ready to go to the finals. TMC has just been narrowly winning too many games this season. We're playing the Flint Tropics, who've just been rolling so hot that I just don't see them being able to compete. But Reggie's going to be the key as always. Eric has to stay shooting efficiently, but this team has to shoot better from the free throw line. They're shooting 6 for 20 from the free throw line this week was run TMC. That's just not going to get the job done against the Flint Tropics. That worries me because the Flint Tropics have no problem fouling guys on the way to the rack. Yeah, so
lead the league.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fouls when you try going in on these guys, and then TMC has to convert. So I think that the lack of free throw shooting this past week from TMC worries me to think that they'll lose this game to the Flint Tropics, which is why I picked Flint. Greg, I want to hear your thoughts, your analysis, why you're going with which team you're picking. I think I know where this is going.
You know where I'm going. I'm going Flint. I mean, look, with this game, I won't talk about Flint. I talk about Flint all season. You know why I'm picking them. I'll talk about what could Shocker City do. Shocker City is going to have to play their own.
Wait, Shocker City?
Excuse me, Run TMC. My bad.
I'm like, wait, am I on the wrong game?
Speaking of my finals, but Run TMC is going to have to first really shoot better from the free throw line. I mean, it's going to be hard against the team. Flint vows, and they will again. They're such a deep team with 6 vows to give. They get like Flint is going to value, and free throws in this. It's all mental, TMC. I know you guys can shoot free throws. I've seen it. I believe they can. So I don't know if that's a big. I'm gonna say it's an aberration last week. I'm gonna give them credit because we know how good they are. Howie Miller would be huge if he could show up. Definitely be big. He's a guard who's long, and he'd be perfect for a game like this. But I mean, they're gonna have to limit TJ Gianni. You can't let Nick Japs get in the post 1-on-1 versus not anyone that not named Eric Langston, or he's gonna have a. He's going to eat. And Nick Japs doesn't miss down there.
Nick Japs is so technical with his footwork down there.
He reminds me of Zach Randolph. He's not like the biggest guy, but he's so muscular and just
he's
Nick
got
Japs
that little baby hook.
And then you guys got like Mike Drew on, and look, TMC is going to have a good game for the first time. Everyone on their team has to have a good game from top to bottom. An efficient game, not a lot of turnovers, good shooting, and they can definitely do it. But it's going to be hard because I think that Flint is motivated, especially with Dom playing his former team again. And I think that Flint just really wants it. So I'm going Flint.
So there you go. You guys have heard it for our quarters picks. Now, we're not going to do the finals, preview finals recap. We'll wait until the next week to do that officially. But me and Greg, we've always done before the playoffs start, we always make our finals just our champion, prediction, who we think's going to win the whole thing, not who they play or any of that, but who we think's just going to go all the way and win. We made our picks last week, but you guys probably saw that we didn't get them in. Excuse me. Greg, why don't you take over as I'm about to die from a coughing spasm, I feel like. Tell the people who you're picking, then I'll follow you up.
All right, and I know I'm going to take heat for this, and Brzezinski, I know, I'm ready. Yeah, Brzezinski right now is on his phone and hitting a little screen record button, getting ready to send this in like 16 group chats, and I'm in like 4 of them. We know that's coming, so I'm ready. Going Flint, baby. I've stuck with Flint all year. I can't back down now. I think Flint wants it. I think they're ready. I think this is their time. Look, I got no argument against you why they're going to beat Mike Davis or Devon. Like, look, what do you want me to say? Like, Shocker City has the better roster, sure, but Flint has been playing at 8.5 hoops forever. They're boys forever, and so has Shocker City. But Shocker City this year has had times where Jerry's not been there and Deontay's not been there, and maybe Mike's been off and Pratt's been consistent and Jason's been there, but Jason maybe doesn't want the playing time, or I don't know what's going on. But I'm just going with a team that brings 9 every week, that I think are a well-oiled machine, and I've stuck with them all year, and I can't back out now. And I feel very confident in Flint. I think that Flint is coming. I think this is what they've worked for in this league. I think that, while we were all playing on 10, they had their Walcott mini league going, and they've been balling 8.5, and all that experience will come out tonight, or excuse me, that night. But it's crazy that I'm picking against Mike Davis, and I always say you never pick against Mike Davis in legacy leagues. But they're my Flint Tropics, baby, and Flint's taking it home.
See, it's crazy because it's like you're so conflicted, because I know that you're friends with Chris. You've always been a big Mike Davis, Devon Pratt guy, but at the end of the day, Flint's your team, dude. Flint's gave you the jersey. Flint's that, you ride or die with Flint. So I respect the pick, Greg. I'm probably gonna get a little bit of shit from Flint, because they know that obviously I'm not the full Flint bandwagon guy like you are, Greg. But I've always respected Flint. I've always loved their game.
You're not lying.
I'm definitely not a Flint hater in any way, shape, or form. And this show wouldn't be fun if we always agreed. So I'm picking Shocker City. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be, the battle of the Titans. This is going to be just two teams that are so elite, going head to head. If we're going to predict it, you know what I'm saying? Like, Flint Tropics to me would be that team that they'd have to get through. That's not a question. Shocker City would have to get through Flint, in my opinion. We'll see how these quarterfinals go. I could be easily proven wrong, and Run TMC could make the upset win and maybe give Shocker City a run for their money. But at the end of the day, I really do think it's going to be Shocker coming over Flint in the finals, and we'll see how that goes. We'll get into the preview, the recaps of those quarterfinals and the finals next week, but that's going to do it for this week's episode. Greg, before we let you go, any last things, any final thoughts for the viewers at home?
No, Flint Nation, baby. We coming, we eating dubs, and I just want to shout out all the teams that got eliminated this week. You guys fought your asses off, you played well, and I hope you guys see you guys back in the league.
Yeah, right. At least all those teams that lost this week, they didn't quit. That's a little subtweet at somebody. All these teams, they fought till the end. They never gave up. This was a tough season, because there wasn't there was actually 0 bad teams in the league once there was a cutoff point at 9. So at that point, those 9 teams, they just really fought. They just fought it out all year. And unfortunately, teams like the Young Kings, it was tough to come by wins just because all the other teams are so good. But by no means was the Young Kings a bad basketball team. They had so many talented players. Dustin Simmons, unbelievable. DJ Foster, the length and size, like so many good players, but just came up short. And we just hope that those guys stay tuned into all the content that we're going to be ready to drop. And all the fans, listeners at home, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we'll be back next week, the weekly rebound. Connor and Greg, thank you guys so much. See you next week.